And we're back with Truth Unrestricted, the podcast that is creating and interpreting the language of the disinformation age. I'm Spencer, your host, back again today with Patrick. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing awesome today. How you doing, Spencer?
That good? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
This
I'm
might be
10
the
out of
wrong
10
day to
today.
do this if you're feeling that good. Wow.
Based on the title?
Yeah. So for those who are not watching or just listening, we are going to cover, this is part of the Unreality on Film sub-series. We're still looking at The Prisoner, and the episode of The Prisoner that we're looking at is called It's Your Funeral. Not sure exactly which episode it is in the series. It was in the latter half, something like 16
I think it's
or something.
11.
Or was it 11? Okay.
But
in yours?
I know that it starts
Okay.
at 0 for you, so it might be 10 on yours. But
yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So you just watched this like an hour ago or something, right?
I just finished it about 15 minutes ago. Yeah.
This sounds like exactly your high school experience. Just scribble the homework at the very last minute, get to the class, and just be like, ink is still fresh. You have to like still sprinkle sand on it to make sure it's not smudgy. Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's how old you are as well, right?
That wasn't just high school. That was college as well. Everything.
Yeah.
There's still stuff like I've got ink drying. So
you're so old you had to dip the ink and there was no ballpoint available.
Yeah.
So now that all those jokes are out of the way, getting down to the serious stuff, this episode of The Prisoner. So as we do these, of course, we're spoiling these. Spoiler warning. We don't always do the spoiler warning. We probably should. This is a 49 or 59-year-old 59-year-old series. You had lots of time to watch it, but some people were on the wrong continent to have been exposed to this regularly. So go watch it if you want to watch it, but if not, you can just tag along. We're not going through exhaustively every plot point of this. We're just going through some aspects of this that lead directly to thoughts about conspiracy thinking. And actually, when I was rewatching this last night to grab some clips, I was surprised that there's really only two that I wanted. I thought there would be more, but really there was just the two. So first of all, let's just get your thoughts on this episode. Did you like this episode? What did it impress you? Was it just kind of blah, or like what's going on?
I hated it.
Yeah. Okay, good. No, that's good. We'll go through it then. We'll go through it exhaustively then.
That's a lie. I just figured your computer probably calculated the likelihood that I liked it.
Oh yeah,
I wanted
purposefully to go against that.
That's
right.
Yeah,
you're gonna become a jammer.
Relevant.
Yeah, right.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it's
it had you wondering.
The actor who plays the role of number two, or at least number two in like the first half of this episode, because it sort of switches as it goes. That guy, his performance here is magnificent. It is chef's kiss to me. That like him and his performance is people who are learning to act should watch this, should watch him do that. I mean, he's doing things like he's on the phone and he's doing dialogue on the phone, and it's so good. Like just this simple thing where he's sort of getting reamed out and he has to explain to someone who has some kind of authority over him what's happening, and he's sort of making excuses, but the whole thing is telling us the plot as it's going. So like obviously there's also some good writing going on there, but his performance of it is so, I rewatch it just for him in this episode. Like he's so good.
When an actor's performance is so convincing that you think that's how they might be in real life.
Yeah. Right. It's right. Well, I mean, I guess if that was the case, it's not doing a lot to endear British people, I think, to the rest of the world, because he is fairly stereotypically arrogant as far as what the rest of the world thinks of British people, which I know that they're not really like that, but
not all of them.
Some of them lean into it in order to get performances that they like, and they're cashing in on that arrogance bank yeah, and
There are
it's
people that
effective and
would,
also yeah.
yeah, there are people that would rather hang out with a bear than with English people
Yeah, and
because of
it's
those
unfair. I know
stereotypes.
some
It's
British
not
people,
fair. Yeah.
they're really good people. They're not like that. Not like this guy, this guy's character, and I'm sure this guy's also not like that. But
Yeah.
he is leaning into that a little bit in this. I mean, it's
We'll be
also in the
looking we'll be looking up
1960s,
what else
so
he played in after this.
I don't know. I've never looked it up. I've never looked into it. I've just always
That's
enjoyed this performance. It's almost like that thing where you like you had like a as a younger person, maybe you had a moment, this fleeting moment with like a person that you were maybe had some interest in, but then that moment was gone. And
mm,
like you maybe some party like, yeah, maybe I could like try to find that person. But somebody like, no, don't do that. Just have that moment and carry that moment
mm.
with you forever.
Mhm.
You have to worry about whether they're a, I don't know, terrible racist now or something, right? You just have that perfect moment and you just never have to worry about anything else. You just, yeah,
Hmm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that
Well,
we've
maybe I'll
deviated
look it
through
up.
that.
I'll let you
Yeah.
know if there's anything worth looking at after.
Yeah. Okay. Don't ruin
He
it for
didn't
me.
turn out a racist, yeah.
Don't ruin it for him. Maybe he had terrible
Okay.
performances.
Yeah.
Maybe all of his other performances were just awful and like, oh
Maybe that was
God,
his last
wrecks it.
performance. Maybe he died. This is terrible.
Maybe it's his funeral.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh. Ooh.
okay. So loop that back in. Just a second. Vamp for a second while I take a sip of coffee.
I don't know what that means. Vamp.
Oh, you don't know what that means? It means that you just kind of throw some words out that make sense for the conversation that you're in and just continue talking till you get to the moment where you're done that moment and then you continue. Yeah, I just
Oh.
vamped there so
Oh,
that you could
wow.
have a sip of your water, didn't you? Oh, yeah.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I think it kind of is a radio thing. In
Okay.
between songs, you're supposed to vamp between songs. You
Oh,
kind
that
of do
makes
that
sense.
thing, and then
Yeah.
of course you're supposed to talk until like the song starts. You're supposed to talk right until the moment when the vocals start. That's why you're supposed to know the music and everything. And I think they call that hitting the post,
Hmm.
and not talk over the vocals of the song. But talk over the intro. Yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Neat.
have the thing you're gonna say end right at the right time.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's a skill. I don't have that
Interesting.
skill. I can kind of vamp a little bit in between, but I can't hit the moment.
Hmm.
But we're gonna talk about The Prisoner. I swear, we're really gonna talk about this. Okay, but this episode had a fairly complicated plot.
Mhm.
So did it make sense to you watching it now, just as you watch it, like, everything that was going on in this episode? Did it hit?
Taking it
Do
at
you
face
think?
value, but it also
Yeah.
raised questions about whatever you would call the greater prisoner verse.
Well, right. So, in that way, this is also why, as I've mentioned before about this, people tend to sometimes change the order because the order in which the prisoner knows things about his greater prisoner verse can
Mhm.
inform some things about what you might assume and how you interpret each thing. So,
Mhm.
again, running theme in the prisoner is, of course, the greater theme of who can you trust? Who can the prisoner trust?
Mhm.
That's running in the background of all of this, right? So, of course, we get this opening sort of scene where we get this woman who's walking into his door, and the door is kind of already open. It's kind of ajar, so she just walks right in, and it's either super late or super early. It's sort of still like nighttime kind of thing, kind of dark. No one else is around, and she's not supposed to be there. This whole thing. I cut a clip of that, but I realized that I don't really want that clip. I wanted a different clip that kind of relates to it. So the whole thing relate like they have this whole conversation of he thinks she's with them because that would explain why she got into his house, and she needs his help with something, and he doesn't believe her, and she says, well, uh, um, I'm gonna need your help anyway. And they go through this whole song and dance. And in the end, she says, well, you don't believe me. They don't listen to me. They don't believe me. And I need you to believe me. And he says, well, why don't they believe you? And she says, because of jamming. And that's the
Right.
only thing. She just leaves that. It's because
Mhm.
of jamming. And she just leaves that and she walks out like mic drop style, right? She's done. So then we have to have a whole other scene where he finds out about jamming. So this becomes like it really is better writing done this way than it is like if you try to jam this in him not really believing her, but then her mentioning jamming and then also explaining what jamming was. We'd be in this tough situation where we want to believe that he doesn't believe her, but then he also does believe her about the jamming. And it becomes this whole confused mess of what we think he believes. Whereas what we have instead is we have her mentioning jamming, and then a moment where we have a computer simulation. A computer is also getting introduced here. A computer is guessing what his morning is going to be like, which, by the way, is way jam-packed, right? Like this guy gets more done before 9 a.m. than I do on most days.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. It's between 6 and 9 a.m. He's doing so many activities and he's just starting. Usually by then I've had just a couple cups of coffee and I've surfed the internet a little bit. Like that's all I've done on a day off. And then so we get that scene, and then we get the explanation of what jamming is, and that's the clip I grabbed. So we're gonna look at that now. Here it is.
Well, escapes mostly.
No, hold on. Back. Here we go.
You moved. Sorry. What they do, these jammers, is talk. They talk about the plots they've been hatching.
Plots?
Well, escapes mostly, but plans and developments for all kinds of mischief. They do it to confuse the observers. Still, please.
So sorry.
The plots they talk about are always make-believe, non-existent. A control can't know that until they've checked them out. Used to run themselves ragged investigating the schemes of jammers.
Used to?
Well, they don't bother much anymore. Now they keep a list of all known jammers. Anything control picks up from these, they just let ride.
I see.
Okay. So this is a sort of a key element of this, but this what's happening here, like in the context of the show, we get this really complicated set of things. We get she knows about something, some important information. She needs his help to get it known. She needs his help because she's a jammer. And then we get this fact, which is that jammers are essentially making up bullshit conspiracies that are specifically meant to run down the energy level, the exhaust the observers, as this guy's calling them, exhaust the observers and use up all of their resources so that you can then, I don't know, maybe someone can get away, sort of thing, right? One of the other plots, one of the real plots might slip past. So we have sort of two conspiracy things going on here, two conspiracy related things going on here. The first one is a thing that's called flooding the zone, sometimes called flooding the zone with shit. Okay, so have you ever heard of this or anyone talk about this?
Nope.
Okay, so this is an actual real strategy that's used and explicitly talked about by a guy named Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, you're sort of nodding a little bit, but you still look a little confused. Okay.
I know he had something to do with Trump. Like he was kind of like
he was Trump's
supporter.
campaign manager in 2016 for, I don't know, like a month or something. Trump had like 4 different campaign managers during the 2016 election, and he was one of them. He wasn't the one at the end where the election happened, but he was one of them. And one of his strategies was a disinformation strategy that's now being called flooding the zone with shit, which literally means making up so many fake things that it's hard for anyone to understand what the truth is about anything at all. And it's a major part of why having him have any access to any level of power is a very bad idea. He was already the editor of something called Breitbart News, which was becoming a fairly major right-wing or alt-right news outlet. It already had a large played a large factor in a thing called Gamergate, that had happened a year or two before the 2016 election. There was a whole series of things leading up to this, and he's still relevant now. He has a podcast called the War Zone podcast. I think it's called the War Zone, something like that, where I think he's on there like every day, and he is in some ways probably going to become the new version of Alex Jones to the people on the right. Now that Alex Jones has kind of lost his larger part of his platform, we have Steve Bannon that's kind of there every day coming up with all these things. Bannon is smarter than Alex Jones, but also he's kind of a grimier and not as good at the talking thing. I don't know, whatever. But the whole concept of flooding the zone and just coming up with more and more fake stuff and just flooding the atmosphere with it so that no one can tell what is and isn't real. That's a real thing in our world. That's part of why it's so difficult for anyone to know what is and isn't real right now. Is because Steve Bannon came up with a strategy and other people are also following it, and it's just become a smorgasbord for grifters who just come up with more fake stuff all the time. And
people only have so much resources to
devote
attention to researching and stuff like that.
And doing their own research almost guarantees they'll come up with the wrong answer, by the way, right? So I mean, they might come up with the right answer about a select few things, but you can't ever cover all the many things. So you might get the right answer on a couple things, but all the other things get through. So it's not a good idea. You need to find sources you can trust. That's the way to do it. And the sources that you can trust are the ones that either have resources for all of the stuff, which very few do now. Even ones like CNN don't have the resources for all of it now. Or your other outlet, pick one: CBC, BBC, ABC. Don't even go to CBS anymore. There's many outlets out there, New York Times, whatever. If you get some that are focusing on select parts, then they have a chance at getting some real stuff. But pretty much no one can cover everything now. There's too much bullshit. Most of them actually do what they do by ignoring most of the bullshit, which is also not great because it leaves two realities to form. It leads one that's sort of a mainstream reality and one that's an alternate stream that just says that the mainstream is all bullshit. And yeah, it's also not great. But that's sort of what jammers are doing here in this situation. They're flooding the zone with shit. That's the strategy, is just tweet out as many lies as you can. They're essentially tweeting. They're just going about their days knowing that they're getting observed and listened to, and they're just coming up with as many fake plots to escape as they possibly can, so that maybe someone who has a real one might get away with it.
It's kind of like turning up the chaos so they can hide within it easier.
Yeah, sort of like that. I also I use a different metaphor. I call this tinfoil on the radar screen. So in World War II, when bombers would fly over Germany to bomb things, the lead plane in a group of bombers wouldn't have bombs on it. It would have big bales of tinfoil. And as it would go over what it thought was the target, sometimes they didn't get to the target because it was nighttime or whatever, and they're flying blind and they don't go to the right spot. It happened. But whenever they got to the spot where they determined was the target, they figured they're going to get anti-aircraft fire, and the Germans had radar to spot the plane. So what they would do is they would dump bales of tinfoil out of the lead plane, and they would be slowly drifting down and giving the radar false positives, so it made it harder to spot the real planes.
Right.
And that was a big reason why people who were in Britain in World War II couldn't find any tinfoil, because it was all getting used for this, quite literally. Wow. Yeah. But yeah, tinfoil on the radar screen. And so this is why I encourage people, like everyday people, ordinary people that I know, don't like repost things that are just garbage material, just fake stuff, just more of the crap, because you're giving steam to the flood of shit that's affecting our atmosphere. So that's that aspect of this. But we have another aspect of this same idea, which is something, it's a concept called psyops. So psyops is a short form of a thing called psychological operations. This is a real thing in warfare. It's a thing where you try to do something to maybe do a fake thing or a propaganda campaign or something like that to affect the opponent's decisions. Very often it's their morale. In World War II, they would drop flyers over the enemy bases and that sort of thing. They would tell them all kinds of things about, the war's over already, whatever. You should, you continue fighting. You're just wasting your life, kind of thing. Whatever the lie was, whatever. And both sides did this. There's also other psychological warfare stuff. There was in Japan. There was they had a woman who was I think she was of Japanese ancestry, but she grew up in America, and they had her do a radio broadcast that they used. They found the radio channel that the American soldiers listened to, and they broadcast it at a louder volume so that it would override their radio signal, and it would play American music, but to make sure they would listen. But then in between, it would have her do her propaganda stuff, and she was called Tokyo Rose.
Oh,
so this is a thing. There's been songs about her, sort of thing. There was there was a right, and that was the name that she was given. That she called herself Tokyo Rose, and she spoke with an American accent, so it was harder for them to understand. And she would give out propaganda, and this was a real thing the Japanese did as a sort of psychological operation. It would discourage. It was meant to be discouraging and affect the morale.
Well, this goes all the way back to Sun Tzu's Art of War, right?
Well, yeah.
The forces are small, make them look mighty. It's all about
there's other ways to do this. Yeah, I mean, there were stories about this in the desert. They took Volkswagens and they put things on and make them look like tanks, and they drove them around the desert to make it look like they had tanks, so they didn't have tanks, whatever, and affect the opera. All right, so this is a real thing in warfare, right?
Deception.
False flag operations. At the beginning of the war, there was the thing that started World War II. There was the Germans claimed that the Polish invaded a German fort, but it's strongly felt that it was actually German SS officers who attacked their own base and used Polish uniforms to do it. That was the inciting incident that began World War II on September 1st of 1939. And I can't remember the name of the base, but this is strongly felt as one of the first modern false flag events. In other words, it's German soldiers claiming that they're Polish soldiers, so they'd have sort of like a Polish flag sort of thing. And this is a thing that was meant to incite the war, give the Germans a reason to attack Poland. So this sort of thing all falls under the banner of psyops. But in online discourse, online influencers and grifters and other people all sort of use psyop to discredit other people. So if people don't agree with your conspiracy idea, you might say that the people who disagree with you are only disagreeing with you because they are a paid operative themselves. They are a psyop. They are doing psychological operations on you, and that's why you shouldn't listen to them, right? And this, by the way, that loops back to a thing we talked about like a month ago or so ago, decision paranoia. Like, you should be paranoid about your decisions. They are trying to affect your decisions in this way that's false. And so that's why you shouldn't listen to them. You should listen to me. That's essentially what they're saying when they say those people are a psyop. I'm telling you the real truth, right? And that's like and they actually use the term psyop when they do it. Those are all psyops. All those things over there, those are all fake. Those are all psyops. I'm giving you the real juice here, right? That's you laugh a little, but that's a real thing that people really say on Twitter. And it's remarkable.
I see it in markets. I see it in markets anytime something happens, and if people
Oh,
don't believe it, they just call psyops, right? Like someone's
yeah,
trying to
right.
trick you into thinking the market's going down so that you
Yeah.
sell, and then they
Yeah,
pick up your
right.
bags for
Yeah,
cheap. So,
I guess that's a real thing that would happen in crypto
oh, there's a
markets.
lot.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
lot of manipulation for sure.
Yeah. Well, and also other people trying to manipulate this sort of reverse psychology manipulate. Go, don't do it instead of doing it or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's another clip I got because the two tracks going on here in this episode is this sort of line about the jammers and how this woman, in doing her sort of
Mhm.
psyops that she's doing, has painted herself in a corner because now she has real information that she feels she needs to get known. And then uh uh but what's really happening here is that we get we have the sort of the dark mirror side of this, right? We've called them sometimes the wardens or the jailers or whatever. In this episode, I think they're called the observers.
Mhm.
The people who are in charge of keeping the prison where it is, who are not the prisoners. And we've until now we've seen discord among the prisoners, among who can they trust, who can they work with to try to escape, sort of thing. But we now see that the group of jailers are not like a unified thing either in this episode, right? There's factions within this group who don't entirely agree with each other and maybe use each other, use or in this case attempting to use the prisoners as pawns in a game to take a key piece out of the other faction in their little game, right?
Mhm.
And in so doing, keep their own sort of hands clean. Like, I didn't do anything. It was they did this.
There's
Look at
the
these prisoners. They
insurgents.
did this.
Yeah.
It was these. What are you going to do? We're keeping them prisoner. They're trying to escape. I mean, they're dangerous prisoners. We have to work harder to, keep them imprisoned. Um, and that's what's happening here. But in the attempt to do that, they are using a computer to try to predict what's happening here. So I grabbed a clip of this. We already talked about this first clip where the computer does a rundown of what the prisoners, prisoner number 6, this is the
All his
prisoners
moves. Yeah.
moves for the morning would be. And this was the storyline's way, the narrator's way of telling us sort of what happened between the moment when the woman entered his apartment and left and the moment when we see him getting his portrait painted, which we didn't have, but hilariously we heard in that clip with the person the prisoner is talking to saying, "You moved, don't move," or whatever. And then he shows
Oh,
him
I
the
missed
picture
that.
and it's
Yeah.
not even a human. It's just like some blotches on a page. Like, it's just so
Yeah.
hilarious. But this was this is sort of after that. So they've gone through his morning so far, but then they want to predict what he will do for the rest of the day. So this is what that sounds like.
Good morning. I brought you the activities prognosis you ordered.
Good. How accurate are these? What is the percentage of right and wrong?
I'm afraid we don't know that.
Why not?
Oh, twice we programmed our machines for a percentile appraisal of their own efficiencies. Each time they refused to give back the requested information.
Refused? How?
Simply by not returning the data to us.
They'll be wanting their old trade union next. Well, go ahead and read it out to me, please.
It is now 10:19 exactly. According to the prognosis, the subject is now taking his daily stroll through the village.
Go on.
At approximately 10:20, he will go to the kiosk. There he will buy a copy of the newspaper, bar of soap, and a bag of sweets.
Oh, no. He never eats candy.
According to the prognosis,
It doesn't matter about the prognosis. It's wrong. It doesn't work.
it'll only take a moment to find out.
All right. Go ahead.
But I must have them.
For the last time. Your week's credit allowance is all used up. Come back tomorrow.
But I can't go through an entire day without my sweets.
Sorry. Yes?
Sorry. Pack of candy for the baby.
My apologies. How did you know?
Efficient prognosis programming must include a quantum permutation of all cause and effects of supplementary elements.
In other words, the computer calculated the old woman's behavior would change the behavior pattern of number 6.
Yeah. It's sort of wild to look back at what people thought computers were going to do in the 60s versus what they've eventually sort of come to do over time, like over our lifetimes kind of thing. In this thing is calculating every permutation of possible events and all of the things that were happening. It's by the way, refusing to tell them the likelihood of anything. It just says it's right, and you can just go fuck yourself if you don't believe it, because it never calculates whether it's wrong. It's apparently they'll get their own trade union next, according to number 2. But it knows the movements. It's predicted the movements correctly, apparently, of not only of number 6, but of all the other prisoners and all of their possible interactions with number 6 and how those would affect number 6's decisions. And it's calculated that he will buy a newspaper, probably because he always buys a newspaper, a bar of soap, probably because it knows creepily that he's almost out of soap, because it has a
camera in the shower.
Camera in his shower. Okay, whatever. Look, you're running the prison. I don't know, like, and then a bag of sweets, and this number 2 says he never eats candy. And he's right, right? Like number 2 thinks that the computer is wrong because number 6 never eats candy. And he's right that number 6 never eats candy, but he's failed to account for all the other factors. But the computer has. The computer is somehow just better at this, right? And like through our lifetimes, of course, the computers aren't doing this. Even now, like even with all the other things that we're getting computers to do, they're not really doing anything like this. But people still sort of think that I think people think computers will do this. Like AI won't even really do this, right?
Not yet. No.
Well,
I mean, you're dealing with so many tracing so many inputs, right? Like an AI would have to have some sort of connection to be able to observe all the factors and then parallel process all of those factors while it's processing any given thing, right? And I mean, I think it's super plausible that it could if it reaches a level of sophistication, but that level of sophistication is far, far away, and questionable whether or not we would ever have circuit boards that could contain that type of computational activity.
And would it be worth it? I don't know. Like
there's that
also,
too.
Yeah. In philosophy, there is an idea that matches this. The idea is given by someone called, I believe his name was Pierre-Simon Laplace. And the idea is Laplace's demon. So this is what mathematician Laplace came up with as a philosophical concept, is that there could be a demon that can that knows the movement of all particles, all things, all the pieces of everything in the like room that you're in. And therefore all the rooms around it and everything else, like all knowing intellect, and can therefore calculate everything about you and the decisions you're going to make.
Yeah,
and
the ultimate determinism.
yeah, like this is sort of the, like his idea of his demon is sort of the one of the first concrete starts of the idea of determinism as a philosophical concept. This idea that our decisions are just as much as we feel that they are
free will,
that they're a product of our consciousness, that perhaps they are not, and are actually just the product of the movement of the collection of particles that happen to make up our, body and mind, right? And all the other forces that interact with those particles, right? The wind comes by and it affects our decisions,
including those particles themselves.
The sun shines on us and causes us to, I don't know, put on a hat or whatever. Which, that's essentially what they have in this fictional tale, of course. That's what they have essentially built, or, claim to have built, is a machine that's doing the work of Laplace's demon. It's factoring in all the different factors, every factor that could possibly factor in, factoring them all in and saying, yes, he will buy candy at the thing, and therefore he'll be whatever, 50 cents less money in his account. So the next day, maybe he can't buy the newspaper. I don't know, whatever else it calculates, you know what I mean, about all the future decisions he's going to make. Because apparently there's only a limited number of credits, and every week they get more. By the way, I think the people in the village are under universal basic income. That's a very interesting concept too.
I was thinking of that too. Like nobody has a job here, but everybody has activities.
Yeah, they all. Well, there's people who have jobs, right? I mean, the guy who sells a newspaper, that's a guy that has a job. Yeah. During the election episode, there was a guy, or not the election episode, the checkmate episode. There was shops that they went to, and number 6 sort of bullied them and just showing him their books, right? So those people had jobs. They ran shops, right? So I don't know. I mean, some people have jobs.
Well, they had record keeping at the very least.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And but this is sort of bringing in this idea that computers are, if you don't know what computers do, you might think they're going to do this, which is sort of weird. I think there's some people who do kind of think this. I think they're all
that we're already there.
Yeah, I think they're in the older group category of age, you know what I mean? Boomers or whatever. Like they tend to be older if they think computers are doing this or will do this, or maybe are already doing this. There are conspiracies about the part of conspiracy thinking is about ways to new fictional things to come up with to explain why the conspiracies the person believes in can still fit within our world. And one of those comes up again and again, the idea that the ever-present they that run everything, one of the ways in which the idea is that the greater fictional conspiracy monster that infects that part of that world is that they have greater technology. They have all the greater technology. That's how, I mean, this is an idea that goes along with something like scientism. Scientism, like science isn't really a process of discovery in which we slowly improve our lives. There's an alien race that's taken over everything, and they have all the technology and have had it forever, and they're slowly giving it to us in pieces to give us the illusion that we are progressing. But scientists aren't really doing anything, and therefore by attaching this extra bit of fiction on, people can believe that, viruses aren't real. Scientists aren't really doing anything with viruses. They're not, they'll say they're in a lab and they hit the little buttons or whatever, but they're not looking at anything. They're not keeping track of anything. They're just writing some words in a notebook, and those words don't mean anything. They're just gibberish. All of those scientist stuff is gibberish. It's just make work so they can make some money off and it's this world that makes a whole fake world that encases the whole real world. And yeah, like it can get super super batshit, right?
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing where you might think that this is a real thing. And, you know, the aliens who have all this great technology that are giving it to us in slow pieces, they already have a machine that can predict all of the stuff.
Mhm.
And that's part of how they were able to, you know that we would get to here so that they could have all the pieces in the right place to do all the stuff, right? This whole idea about the computer predicting exactly all the stuff, it's not going away, I think. I mean, this is 1967, and this, you know, people are still going to think this. People are still going to think that we're going to have them. And quantum computing is going to happen eventually.
Mhm.
Probably not tomorrow, but it might be in another 15, 20 years sort of thing, right? And those computers will be faster, but they're not going to be fast enough to really do what this computer is doing, right? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't
Quantum
know.
computing is a different kind of proposition because, you know,
Yeah.
quantum computing arrives at every result simultaneously.
Well, no. It just
Technically,
comes up with them faster. It's yeah.
it's it's
The
it's
idea would be that it would work faster than the technological framework we're using now, substrate we're using now as technological framework.
only really for things that involve probability, right? Like linear processing, a quantum computer is not going to handle things like that. It's, I don't know. I
Well,
see it most often discussed with encryption, and there's like talk about how quantum computing is something that is going to basically, I don't know, puncture the membrane between probabilities, right? So we'll see. We'll see if quantum computers
yeah.
actually start doing something. But
I think it's just going to be a faster computer than the ones we have.
it's
Yeah.
counterintuitive to have a bit that's in both positions simultaneously, but that's what a qubit is.
Well, yeah, but if they can't ever make that become something predictable that you can come up with a reliable
Like a process or a
set of
procedure.
processes, then
The
it won't ever
programs.
be any good.
Yeah, what's the programming language for a quantum computer? That I don't even know if anyone's even asked yet.
No, yeah. But I mean, you know, they'll make something work, and if it does, then I think what it'll have is just be a faster computer. It'll just be faster.
Okay.
You know,
That's the
but
goal.
it won't be like this. It won't predict all the movements around you, especially if your day's as busy as this guy's is.
Mhm.
Like, imagine if the stone had a little bit of water on it, was slippery, right? And he slipped on it. Like that alone
Well,
would,
there's only so much water.
he's fitting so much into his day. Like, can you imagine any
Yeah.
one little thing bumps all the other things out?
And this is a very closed system. This is a system that isn't
Just within a
impacted by
village.
any external systems. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even affected. I mean, world markets don't affect the village.
No.
It's completely separated from those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this episode was very interesting for that reason. I think we've kind of talked this out, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think people should watch this show. Like, take the time to enjoy
really,
these episodes.
even the episodes we don't cover,
Yeah.
there's a couple I think that are a little bit more like duds, but even the duds are still interesting at the very least, right?
Mhm.
There's none that were actually like phoned in and just like blah, like where someone just didn't care about whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, they're all got something interesting.
Mhm.
But we're coming up on the last of the episodes we were gonna do. The last one is actually a pair of episodes. The last two at the very end
Mhm.
will be the last of them. But I want people to think about the idea that who follow this and watch the series or have watched or whatever, that each episode is like its own dream.
Mhm.
Like maybe the prisoner is just, this is just a guy and these are his weird dreams.
Mhm.
That's a possibility.
Well, the thing with this episode that kind of felt different than the other episodes, with some of his attempts to escape and things like that, like he would come up against the thing, the power he couldn't defeat, and he would remain trapped. But in this episode, there's a distinct note of victory.
Well,
right?
yeah.
And it's still the ending sequence of like, you know, his face zooming up, and
He's in
he's
the jail,
still
the bars
contained
coming
in the
over his
prison.
face. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's still in
yeah,
the prison,
yeah.
but he did kind of get one up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah. He was definitely
found
not
out
the loser
two
of this episode.
factions, at least two, maybe more,
Yeah.
and that they're not entirely simpatico, and
Yeah.
that he outsmarted one of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that was
which is-
interesting.
and then he avoided the possible calamity of the reprisals that they fear
Right.
in the
Yeah.
village. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the villagers got set up for the assassination, then there would be reprisals, and he avoided that. He saved the villagers from totalitarian rule.
Yeah.
Fascism, I guess. I mean, it is sort of fascist already, but it's sort of like light fascism. Well, yes, you're in a prison,
Diet
but you
fascism.
can go and buy a newspaper, and you can buy sweets for the little old lady. We're not going to lock you in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to put you in chains and make you work a blacksmithing shop or whatever. I don't know.
Enough of your fantasies here.
I don't know what fascists would really do if they had their way. Anyway, we're done here. This was fun.
Right.
So, oh, look at that. It's 4:20, Patrick, just in time.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
my
so
bong.
hurry up. Get this episode done. So, till next time, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks. This was fun. It looked like you were looking for a pet there for a second.
I was
Yeah.
looking for a pet a little bit, yeah. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel to get more content like this. Special thanks to Jeff Powell for the intro and outro music handcrafted with real guitars. Please send all feedback to truthunrestricted@gmail.com.